You can follow the show on Twitter at First and Goal Pod. Follow the guys at UPJ33, at Steak and Cheese, and at Dylan Busby1. Email the show firstandgoalpodcast@yahoo.com with all your football and Packer questions and comments, and you just might end up making the show live. That's firstandgoalpodcast@yahoo.com.
Them you're never walking out again. Turn your back on the walk back. Turn your back on the walk back. Turn your back on the walk back.
The Packers will have a first and goal. Receiver to the right, Jimmy Graham. Rodgers, quick toss in the flat, left side. Got his man for the end zone and a touchdown.
I've been grinding so long, been trying this shit for years. And I got nothing to show, just climbing this rope right here. And if there's a man upstairs, he kept bringing me rain. But I've been sending up prayers and something's changed. I think I finally found my hallelujah. I've been waiting for this moment all my life. Now all my dreams are coming true, yeah. I've been waiting for this moment. It's good to be alive right about now.
What's going on, Packer fans? It's that time for the Packers 365 postgame show. I'm your host, Ryan Molstead. That's Packers _365 on Twitter. And unfortunately, we just watched our Green Bay Packers lose to the, not San Diego, but Los Angeles Chargers. And win or lose, we're here live to talk about it all. So, but first, I do got to bring on guests from my First and Goal podcast. Actually, we're going to be short one tonight. So Steak and Cheese Dave is out with some kid stuff going on, some family stuff. Life happens. So we'll just take the show on with just the other half from the First and Goal podcast, our producer. You know him on Twitter as @UPJ33 because he's a Packer fan in the UP. Say what's up, Jay.
What's up, Packer Nation? I told y'all it was the game they were going to drop. I told you, tried to warn you. Doesn't mean I still wasn't pissed and didn't finish watching the game because it was pretty piss poor.
Yeah, and you know what? We're gonna get into that. Definitely, I want to do kind of a recap. You know what, though? You're right. This was a game that I felt that we could lose, just like I thought last week was going to be a game that would be real tight. Even without Pat Mahomes playing, well, look what the Vikings just found out today. Doesn't matter. They got enough offensive weapons over there in Kansas City. Matt Moore can do the job. Well, if you don't bring your A game, you can lose any given week in the NFL. And, again, that's what happened to the Packers today playing in Los Angeles. It doesn't matter. It was, 80, 90, maybe even more percent Packer fans in that small soccer stadium that they play in. And it doesn't matter that their record is 3-5. It doesn't matter that, they were missing some different players out with injury and that we were getting our players back all healthy, that we've been on a roll. It doesn't matter. That's life in the NFL. If you don't bring your A game every single week, you will lose. The talent gap is not as big across the board as people make it out to seem. And with the right scheme, with the right coaching, with the right determination, motivation, desperation, whatever you want to call it, you can lose easily. I felt, this was a frustrating game. The offense barely touched the ball in the first half, much less most of even the game. Way too many penalties, shooting ourselves in the foot. And you know what? The Chargers had a great game plan. They played keep away the entire game. They had a new offensive coordinator that took over the reins, and that it's hard because you know what? You can't really scout the different, types of plays that offense coordinator is going to put on on tape, because there is no tape with him at the helm. There's something to be said about not just who you play, but when you play them. And Chargers, trying to get back into the thick of things, they were a desperate team. Yeah, they came off a win on the road. It was a lucky one. They're still with a losing record, and they're seeing the rest of their division, still being up for grabs. So they needed this team, this win bad, and they were a more desperate team. They definitely wanted it more. The Chargers, you know what? Say what you want about the fan base and all that traveling and all that. They're used to it. At this point, the Chargers are absolutely used to opposing fans taking over in L.A. And the other thing, too, that I thought about is Philip Rivers, historically has played well against the Packers. He's done well against Green Bay. Even though he hasn't won, he's put up numbers. He's got plenty of weapons to do it. He was getting weapons back more recently over the last couple of weeks. And they've got two really good pass rushers. And those are the types of pass rushers, and Melvin Ingram and Joey Bosa, that give our tackles problems. They're just really, really athletic guys that can beat you with whether it's speed or with power. And that's what they came up against today. So it was a game that I'm not even going to go on a rant. And that's because I quite frankly just felt that loss was going to come. And as you watch the game and as it progressed, I felt like that's inevitably what the end was going to be. And I've had enough time to process that and kind of move on already. This is going to happen. You're going to put up some games where you lose during the NFL season that you think to yourself, how the hell do we lose that game? This is one of those games. This is one of those, again, it's an AFC loss. Not as bad as a division or an NFC conference loss. A loss still sucks, but hey, the rest of the NFC North all lost today. I think. I don't know what the outcome was of that Detroit game. They were losing at the end. So, that's kind of our quick recap as far as player injuries. I don't know if there were any significant injuries coming out of this. Jay, did you see anything? The only thing I saw at the end was I saw Adrian Amos kind of grabbing his hamstring towards the end.
I don't think there's anything major for either side here.
Yeah.
Although I would have liked to see, somebody pay for that punk-ass move at the end of taking points off the board. Yep.
So the knee-jerk reactions. Jay, I want to get your initial knee-jerk reaction of this game that you just watched.
Well, my initial notes here, just going through them, I want to say this, and this has to go with my point about middle linebackers. I'm not going to go on a rant. I'm just going to make this short and sweet. Something's up with Kenny Clark. Since week 2, he has not split double teams. He has not commanded double teams, and he is getting pushed around. If he is hurt at this point, he's not on the injury report, and so you are hiding something, either that or I don't believe this, but it's either one or two things. Either that or Kenny Clark all of a sudden completely regressed, like having a sophomore slump in his 4th year and is just playing terrible in the contract year, which is not good either. I think it's the latter, not the former. And at this point, I think you need to take him off the field. Play Kingsley Keke, play somebody else, get him healthy. The line of scrimmage is getting mashed on the defense to the point where I don't care who the hell your linebackers are. No middle linebacker is doing well, okay? They're all playing on their heels because the defense isn't holding up their end of the bargain, the line, and that, I can go on rants and all that, but I don't need to. It's just line of scrimmage. Football is never going to change. That's why my views are the way they are. It starts and ends at the line of scrimmage. And Kenny Clark is my biggest concern because he's the stalwart. He's the rock. He's the guy the entire defense is built around. You see how ineffective the Smiths are when the center doesn't need to be worried about. They're just pushing sliding protection out wide, and they're actually double-teaming the edges and chipping because there's no need to worry. That's why the middle of the field's open, because there's this big, wide open pocket. There's no push, no holding in the middle. Quarterbacks are completely comfortable in the pocket, and they can deliver to, even if it's 5 yards, and let the guy make a play. The defense is playing soft, and the biggest problem in my notes is, yes, there's still that elite point total. I'm not ragging on him for that. But the issue has become we are giving up 9.5-minute drives and only giving up 3 points. Well, that kills your offensive momentum still. You need to get on and off the field as many times within under 5 minutes in a drive as possible with Aaron Rodgers in this offense. When I jumped to the offense on my initial side, it's what I said in the matchup show. They were too eager to get Davante Adams, their toy, back involved. He hasn't scored a touchdown. They were pressing. And I said this was just like having an NBA player like LeBron come back for a playoff game for the first time. And the team played, the last 6 weeks without him. They're doing great. Well, now they want to integrate their superstar back in, and everything kind of falls apart because you're trying to force things instead of letting him just find his place, and step in. You're trying to force it back to what it was. They lost their offensive identity by doing that, and you got to run at pass rushers. You don't want to be in shotgun formations. So right off the bat, the game plan was flawed. It showed you that what I said was going to happen. They came out shotgun. They were wanting to get their toys out. It was the wrong thing to do when I don't care how good your offensive line is. Those guys need to be respected. Ingram and Bosa need to be respected, just like the Smith brothers do, except for they actually have some guys that are underrated in the middle. It's just my initial thoughts, both sides of the ball, quickly, which wasn't very quick, but whatever.
It's all right. That's what you're here to do. So you're here to talk about it with us. So, I agree with what you just said. We aren't able to get a push up the middle right now. And Kenny Clark, like you said, something's wrong. Either he's injured, and we're just not aware of it, and it's preventing him from being the Kenny Clark that we're used to seeing over the last couple of years, or I don't even know what else would be the issue. I mean, he's obviously got to be motivated, like you said. It's a contract year, so I'm not sure what's going on there. But it is definitely one of the key reasons why teams are able to run against us so effectively. Even when we know that's what they're trying to do, we cannot stop it. And we're not able to get the pressure up the middle unless we're bringing, Preston or Zadarius, mainly Zadarius Smith, and moving him around. But then that's an obvious, that's where he's coming from. And the quarterbacks are they're taking advantage of it. And that's what we're starting to see. The whole thing with the Chargers is they're better than their record suggests. And this is kind of my initial reaction is, recently they've gotten guys back that are pretty major players on their team in Bosa and Okung and Hunter Henry and Melvin Gordon and some different players like that. And, they've lost a lot of really close games, typically because they do what the Chargers a lot of times do, and they make some big, error, turnover, or do something stupid. But they didn't do that today. And when a team doesn't do those types of things and they've come in, they've added a bunch of their playmakers back into the fold, new offensive coordinator, playing at home, quote unquote, and they don't make mistakes, and the other team does, like the Packers did today, this is what happens. This is how that loss happens. Going to the offense, because you started on the offensive side with some notes there. So again, people have been talking about Ryan Grant. Well, where's the wide receiver help? We signed this guy. He hasn't played. Why is he not playing? Why did we pick him up if he's not going to play? Well, I said on Twitter, hey, he'll play when he's needed, when he's ready, and or when he's worthy. And
I think on that, just to jump in quick?
Yeah.
On that, I honestly believe he's their 49ers debut toy. I think he could have played, just like Davante Adams probably could have played last week. I think he's probably not going to play the next week because next week is their last game before the bye. So I think they are integrating him into this team, and then they will fully expose him in the bye week, and you'll see him debut for because then that's week 12 then, right? So then you're on your stretch down where you're trying to make a push for the bye, where you want to surprise and change